person has a lot of subscribers, right? You want to be very careful what you put out there, especially to the young generations. I think this is what his channel uh, is geared to, the younger crowd, right?
So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to go ahead and start off with some like stance details here.
That's a good point to start this with. The stance is always the most important part.
Back foot being pointed so far this way.
Okay, when you say, what kind of stance is that? That's a very good question, Mr. Sensei Smith. What kind of stance is that? And why would he take that stance? Why would Bruce Lee take that stance? He could have picked any other stance, right? Why would Bruce Lee pick that stance specifically? What kind of stance is that? For those who don't know, Bruce Lee studied fencing. His brother was a fencing champion. And Bruce Lee combined his brother's fencing footwork with his cha-cha dancing footwork and his boxing footwork into his Wing Chun. So Bruce Lee is a lunger, almost like a cobra. Okay. So it's one of the reasons why he took that stance. And when you say pointed that way, which way is that way? If anybody knows about Jeet Kune Do and Bruce Lee's stance, okay. By the way, the title is kind of misleading. Bruce Lee this was not his only fight. This isn't a fight, by the way. It's a sparring match. This is one of the only ones publicly that he did. Bruce Lee combined the fencing and the boxing stances into his Wing Chun. That foot is pointed, it's almost like a 90-degree angle, almost, right? Pointed out to a side, which opens up the hip already. So he's kind of he's kind of side kicking right now, to be honest with you. Or he's in a stance for a side kick to lunge. Looks like maybe about 60-40, 60% on the back leg, I'm just saying.
You pivot the opposite foot when you kick. That's like not.
What do you mean pivot the opposite foot when you kick? What kind of kick? What kind of pivot? Pivot which way? Kicking to what target?
Super uncommon. So for roundhouse kicks, for side kicks, stuff like that, anything where you're turning the knee sideways, you want to have that other foot pointed in the opposite direction so you can open up your hips. His stance already being like this kind of leads him to be able to just throw a lead leg kick with that rotation with ease. It kind of leads to some disadvantages, though, that maybe we'll see in a little bit. His stance
that's a fair point.
Is a little funky.
What do you mean when you say funky? When you're talking about a legend like Bruce Lee, okay? What do you mean funky? You have to define those words, sir. You're talking about a legend.
But if you get used to a funky stance, you can still move around. So we're not just going to go ahead and dismiss anything immediately.
You just literally dismissed it by calling it funky, dude. You literally just described it with funky. Come on, man.
Okay, so
he's cooking, by the way, as I'm doing this too. So
recognizes.